Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for part two of Stuff You Should Know. Today, we will be talking about income taxes. And with us today, we have Shub from Office of Student Money Management here to talk to us about income taxes. So I'll hand it over.
All right, thank you. Okay, so my name is Shub, and I'm one of the peer financial coaches at the Office of Student Money Management. And I'll be talking a little bit about taxes, a little bit about what we do, and just a general idea of what you might need to file out your taxes. So, right. Okay, so taxes for college. Let's do that. So today's topics a little bit about our office and then taxes, pretty much. So what we do is our office is kind of designed to help students uh, get knowledge about money and how to pretty much spend it in college and kind of create a monthly spending plans. So that's what we do. We also help students create a college financial plan, which helps them plan their regular semesters. And we also help them complete their taxes for free. So we do not charge any students for any services that we give. It's all free. So that's a very good thing, specifically for taxes, because you don't have to go to the offices and pay to get your refunds. So taxes. It is very important that you should file your taxes every year to avoid fines and other legal troubles from the IRS. So what IRS recommends usually is like, even if you don't earn anything, you should still file a tax. It's a different kind of form, but you should still like file it every year, irrespective of if you're earning or not. And definitely if you're earning something, you should be filing your taxes and be on top of it. So, what are taxes? So, taxes are involuntary fees that are levied on individuals and corporations and enforced by a government entity. In this case, it could be your local, regional, or national in order to finance government activities. So, types of taxes. So, we usually have the one that most people would generally pay would be the income tax. So this is a percentage of an individual earning that a person has to file to the federal government. So that's what's called the federal tax. And then there's a corporate tax, which usually individuals won't pay. That's something that a company would pay. So that's a percentage of corporate profits taken as a tax by the government. And then there's things called tariffs, which is on imported goods and imposed in the aim of strengthening internal business. So sometimes governments would put tariffs on stuff to not import it, and so that the domestic market can be a little better. Sales tax. So this is something that everyone pays when you buy anything. So like food would usually have sales tax, your phones, your laptops, usually those consumer items. And then property tax. So property tax is something that's based on the land and your house if you have one. So so let's talk a little bit about tax terms, what you might need to know when you're filing taxes. So the first thing is filing status. So that's essentially what's your relationship status determines how you file and what, if any, tax breaks that you're entitled to. So usually, generally, there's like filing status would be as a single, as married. There's also such thing called married but filing separately. So multiple ones you have, and it depends on the individual, like how you file it. So even though some people are married, they would file it as a single, and then there are people who will file married but separately. So there are different ones of them. Gross income. Now, gross income is your total income before accounting for your deductions and taxes. So the sources of your gross income would be salary, wages, tips, capital gains if you invest in stock, interest from any bonds that you have, and dividends that you get. So gross income is just total. Whatever you earn in a year, that would be your gross income. Now, deductions. So, deductions are items or expenses that are subtracted from your gross income to reduce the amount of income that is subjected to being taxed. So, what you're taxed on is different than what your gross income is, and you can decrease your gross income so that your taxes are less. So, for example, if you pay for tuition in college, you can deduct a certain amount of money from your gross income so that, let's say, you pay $2,000 in tuition and your gross income is $10,000. So if you deduct 2,000 from the 10,000, what you have left is $8,000 worth of gross income. So you're going to be taxed on 8,000 instead of 10. So that's one way to like reduce your taxes. Now the fourth one is adjusted gross income. That's essentially the example I gave. So that is the personal income that you receive over the course of year minus certain types of deductions. So like I said, the 8,000 would be considered the adjusted gross income. So economic payment impact payments. So in the year of 2020, because of COVID, the government paid a certain amount of money to individuals to help them out during the pandemic. So it's essentially the stimulus checks, and it was sent by the IRS. So the first payment was $1,200, and the second payment was $600. Now, if you file your taxes every year and you qualified for it, you should have received it automatically. And if you didn't file your taxes in 2019 for some reason, then you would not have received it even if you qualified for it. So one way to get the money this year is to file taxes, because for 2020 taxes, if you file your taxes and you say that, oh, I was qualified for it, but I didn't receive it, IRS will send that money back with your refund. So that's another good incentive this year to file your taxes, because if you didn't receive your stimulus checks, the first two, then you'll get it. So that's pretty much, you must file a 2020 tax. Now there's a third one that was signed into law on March 11th. And for that, you'll have to probably wait. But that's also kind of connected to the tax that you file for 2020, because that's how IRS kind of checks that if you qualify to get that money or not, based on your income and based on your adjusted gross income that you put in. So prior to filing your taxes, so for this, there's two different. So one would be for domestic students, and the other would be for international students, because the IRS taxes them, and a few processes are different based on if you're domestic or international. So for domestic students, you would need all tax documents. So that will be the W-2. So W-2 is, if you're working somewhere, you should be getting a W-2. So that's essentially your full year kind of paycheck. It shows how much you earned, how much how much taxes were withheld, and if you pay Medicare or Social Security taxes, and if you have 1099. So 1099 could be, there are many different types of 1099 forms, which is kind of general, but uh, it's hard to define who will get what, because sometimes some people will not get a 1099. So it's a person to person basis. And the second thing you might need is a state ID or license. So IRS, sometimes when you file taxes, they will suggest strongly to put your ID information on the tax return so that they can verify it's you. Third one, very important, social security number. So either if you have the card in person, or usually on your W-2, your social security number is written. So that's also another way, if you don't want to like carry around, or if you cannot find your social security card for some reason, it's on the W-2. The fourth one, it's kind of important also, is last year's return AGI number. So AGI again was the adjusted gross income, and IRS uses this again to kind of verify if it's you or not in their system. So it's always a good idea to keep previous year's tax documents on hand so that you can always look at it and put that number in. The fifth one would be, if you're filing as a dependent on the guardian's tax, then you cannot claim the education credit. So the example I gave a little bit ago is like, sometimes you can claim education credit for paying tuition, college tuition. But if you're a dependent, you would usually not be able to claim it on your own. But if you're filing as a single and no one else is going to be filing you as a dependent, then you're eligible to claim the credits. And we strongly suggest that people do it because it's always good to have bigger deductions so that you pay less taxes. So for international students, it's kind of similar. Pretty much is that again, yeah, it doesn't matter if you're international or domestic, you'll get a W-2 from your employer, and you'll get 1099s if it's in your situation, it's valid, then you'll get it. And some students will also get a 1042S. Now, those are usually from our experience, it's people who worked as a graduate assistant, a teaching assistant, or if they were a student athlete. Those are the people who get that. And the a little bit problem arises is because a lot of times students don't know if they're supposed to receive that form or not. So that's why we always suggest to just contact payroll because they know who are supposed to get it or not. But usually it's about March, early March, that you should be getting it. If not, then you should contact. And that's the same thing with W-2 for both international and domestic students, is that if you don't receive it by mid-February, early March, then you should definitely contact payroll or your employer to get it. The second thing, again, social security number or ITIN. So ITIN is something that's only specific to international students. Is some international students like a student athlete, they wouldn't have a social security number because they're not working. So IRS will create a password sort of thing. They call it ITIN, and they would need that. The third thing is passport because you'll need to put your passport details, passport number, your home country address, your permanent address that we'll have to fill it out. The fourth thing would be a bank account routing number because usually for federal, you get a direct deposit and you'll have to put that in. And the last one would be I-94 travel dates. So the IRS and the US government likes to know when you're coming in and out of the country. So even during, and also to find out in which case like you qualify for, because some students who have been here more than 5 years, they qualify as a resident and they're taxed similar to US citizens. But if you have been staying here less than 5 years, then you're taxed as a non-resident. So that's the reason they ask you your travel dates to see how long have you been staying here consistently. So filing taxes finally. So to file taxes, the last day to file taxes for both domestic and international students is usually April 15th, but recently, because of the pandemic, they actually changed it. So for the 2020 tax return, it's now May 17, 2021 for both federal and the state of Kansas. So they first changed the federal one, and then recently the governor of Kansas announced that the state of Kansas tax return has also changed to May 17 deadline. So that's a good thing. Is if you were a little late or if you thought that you couldn't finish it by April 15, now you have like another month. But again, we still suggest that you do it as soon as possible because sometimes some problem arise, the mail gets lost, so it's always good to keep some time in hand. So for domestic students, the software that we recommend is called myfreetaxes.com. It's super simple. You just go to myfreetaxes, you sign up for it, and you just pretty much wait a little bit to get the link. And then it's easy to use. It walks you through the step, how to fill it out. And it's free for federal and 3-state returns. So some students might work in different states, so they have to file taxes in different states. So let's say someone worked and someone was studying in WSU for fall and so earned in fall and then went back during the winter break or the summer break back home in Oklahoma and worked there, so has to file Oklahoma state tax, and then let's say did an internship in Nebraska, so that student will have to file three state returns. So that's free until three state returns, so you don't have to pay for it. So that's a good thing. And there will be upcharges if you need to file Schedule C, D, or E. Now, these are forms that we rarely see students filing out, but if you have that, then you might have to pay a little bit, but it's not that expensive. For international students, it's another free software, but it's different. So for that, you have to just go to your MyWSU, go through My Finances, and you'll see a box. It says Glacier Tax Prep. And to use it, you should have access to it. So all current students have access to it uh, since February, I believe February, mid-February, and every year that's International Office does it. And if you're a alumni, you can contact International Office and ask for access code. Again, it's free to use and super easy. So I'm just gonna go back to this. So for domestic students and international students, it doesn't matter who you are. If you think that you need help, so the software are available for free to you to use, but we strongly suggest that if you have questions or you think that you're not certain how to fill it out, just always feel free to contact us, and we will have we are doing Zoom meeting these days because of the COVID, but I'm hoping next year it's not going to be like that. But at least for this year, it's online, so we'll just send you a Zoom link, and it usually takes about an hour to do both the state of Kansas and the federal. Now, if you have more, then we don't usually do other states for international or domestic just because we don't have that training. So we are only trained to do federal and the state of Kansas. But that usually takes about an hour. So we try to do a Zoom meeting for about an hour. And we usually have flexible times. So for our times, we are open from 8 to 5 p.m. We will stay open late by appointment, but that's only if none of the times is working. And we suggest just email us at osmm@wichita.edu. And one thing is that because of many students asking for help, we are kind of getting a lot of traffic. So if you want to get a tax appointment, we suggest you do it about a week or two like ahead. So let's say if you want to ideally, now that the deadline is shifted, let's say if you want a appointment on the in the week of third week of April, we would suggest you contact us right about now or next week so that we can plan it out, or else it gets filled up real quickly and then we can't help the student to find the specific time slot. So that's one thing that I would want to um, do that. And yeah, just email us. You can call us at the phone number. And if you forget the details, you can always just type in OSMM Wichita State in Google, and it will direct you to our website, and you'll have the information there. Uh, so yeah, that's it. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much for helping us out today. Also, thank you so much to everyone who tuned in to help learn more about income taxes. I would like to say that on Tuesday, March 30th, we do have Cooking with Comedians, so sign up for that. And then if you're interested in any more SAC events, go to www.wichita.edu/SAC. Thank you.